Kentucky survived. It's going to take on Alabama in the SEC tournament quarterfinals. Two teams met twice this season. First matchup in January at Rupp was a banger. Crimson Tide won. It was 102-97. Very fun game. Not as fun, particularly for Kentucky fans, the second time in Tuscaloosa on February 22nd. 96-83 win for the Tide. That was felt much bigger than that. The advantage. Bama's had the upper hand on Kentucky when they've played. So what does Kentucky have to do to flip the script? How can Kentucky pull the upset in this game?
I'm not sure Kentucky has to do anything besides be themselves. Kentucky and Bama have some similarities in their style of play. I think Kentucky just has to hope on that given night that they're better than Alabama. I think X's and O's wise, it's gonna be a similar race, I guess you could say. Both games were high scoring. In my opinion, first to 100, probably wins. Maybe first to 90 if we're being even more realistic, right?
Yeah.
Kind of wins this game, and Kentucky's gonna have to hang tough. They're gonna just fight through. Alabama's gonna go on runs. That's what Alabama does. But as I always say too, Alabama gonna give up a run themselves, and they're just gonna just stop making shots at some point. As long as you make your shots when they go through one of their lulls, I think Kentucky will be all right in this one.
Yeah. Kentucky did not have Jackson Robinson or Lamont Butler in the second game that they played. Probably not going to have both of them when they play because Lamont Butler had the shoulder injury against Oklahoma. Don't know his status for the game as of this recording, but we're going to assume that Mark Pope plays it safe and wants to keep him healthy for the NCAA tournament. So that's a problem. The other issue that I think could potentially help Kentucky, though, is that Otega Oweh only had 2 points in the first matchup.
Hmm.
Since then, he's been incredible. He's been Kentucky's best player, I would argue.
Yeah.
His ability to attack downhill is not something Bama had to worry about in the first match or the second matchup, the one in Tuscaloosa. I think they have to worry about that now, and this is not a team that excels at keeping opponents out of the paint.
Yeah, I think the one advantage Bama has for Otega Oweh, though, that I would say is without Jackson and Lamont, they don't really have to focus on anybody else.
Yeah,
So you can kind of key in on him and just take the ball out of his hands, force Kobe Bray to put it on the ground, force Andrew Carr to put it on the ground, force some of the bigs to maybe step outside and make a shot. I think it's easier to take Otega Oweh out of games without Lamont and Jackson. I mean, I know that's real knowledge with that one. Team missing two of its three best players, it is easy to take other best player out of the game. Correct.
yes,
Thank you, Dion, for that great analysis, hashtag analysis. But I do think it's true. And I think that's going to be a bit of the issue if Kentucky were to have one. It's Bama has a lot more dogs in the fight.
yeah. This will be another test for Kentucky's defense. It has been much improved, really, for the last month since the start of February or since the Arkansas game. But Bama was the exception to that in the stretch, giving up 96. What can Bama do? Is Bama just showing up and playing the way Bama does? Part of why they've had success is Kentucky's defense gave up a lot of open threes to them, and so this Bama team that shoots a lot of threes that has not made a ton made a ton. Is
Right.
it same kind of thing?
I think it's same exact thing. Same exact thing. Kentucky gonna give up a lot of points. Um, Bama honestly is one of those teams where like if they're on, they're on. I don't think there's anything you can do about it, no matter how good of a defense you are. But at the same time, if they're off, they're off, and there's nothing Bama can do about it, regardless of how good of an offense they are. So a lot of what Bama does is kind of just up to Bama. I think I think the best thing they can do is probably show up early and get a shoot around in if possible. That's probably the
That
best thing.
that would be ideal. That would be ideal. Get a little bit more than the 30 minutes you get in between games. Um, the other factor in this, we'll see how Crimson Tide fans show up because they haven't had to. Um, Big Blue Nation's taken over that arena. Like
Hmm.
that during that run in the second half against Oklahoma, that place was insane because it was just all Big Blue Nation. if Kentucky's able to start fast and get some momentum, that place is going to be very heavily behind them. It's going to feel like a home game. I think that that could play a factor. But who do you see winning this game?
I like Bama. I like Bama. I think Bama is too talented. I think they got Kentucky's number a little bit for this one. I do think of the three matchups, if you're a Kentucky fan, this should be the one you're most confident in. I think there is an element of you played today, Bama didn't, which is
Yeah,
one of my favorite elements of conference attorney play. I'm going to continue to say it. So I think if they were to have a chance, it's in this situation.
I would be very tempted to take Kentucky if Lamont Butler was healthy, because it's hard to beat a team three times. But without Lamont Butler, I don't know if Kentucky has the horsepower to keep up with Bama the way you need to keep up with Bama, even if you throw them off their game, right?
Yes,
So I think Bama wins. Maybe it's a 10-point game as opposed to a blowout here, but I think Bama wins, and I think Bama wins this one pretty comfortably.
I agree.